This is the Investor Connect podcast program. This is Hall T. Martin. I'm the host of the show, in which we interview angel investors, venture capital, private equity, family offices, and many other investor groups for startups and growth companies. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you for joining us. Well, hello, this is Hall Martin with Investor Connect. Today I'm here with Ethan Rigel, founder and managing partner at Gore Capital. Gore Capital is focused on investments in early stage skin health businesses. Ethan, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Hal.
So where are you calling from today?
I'm in Southlake, Texas.
Great. And tell us more about your background. How did you get here?
Yeah, so my background's got two legs to it. The first is principal investing. I've been doing that at a variety of firms throughout my whole career. Started off doing deep distress turnaround work and then moved earlier and earlier in the company life cycle till I found myself actually taking a break from that, starting my own company, which I took through several rounds of financing. And upon exiting, really wanted to get back into principal investing and wanted to be the kind of investor that I wish I had at my startup. And the genesis of Gore was really around this idea that the best way to be a good venture stage investor is to have real knowledge and expertise of the area that you're making your investments in, which gets to the whole other leg of my experience, which is all in and around skin health and dermatology. I've learned a little bit through osmosis. My father's a prominent physician in the space. And we also have built the largest for-profit business in the space called Dermex Media Group. We touch about 44,000 healthcare professionals globally through a combination of online and in-person events. Everything from promotional materials to continuing medical education done under our management company. So we're really excited about that. And through that have built a really strong network in dermatology, plastic surgery, aesthetic medicine. And that's how I know my partner, Umberto Antunes. So Umberto joined the firm with me about 5 years ago now. And Umberto has been in healthcare his entire career, almost all of it in skin health, the biggest chunk of that as CEO of Galderma, which until recently was based in Alliance, which is a very long way to say how I ended up in Southlake, Texas.
Great. So tell us more about starting a business in the area of skin health. What's that like?
So, I really love this space. The healthcare in general, I think, is a fantastic place to start a business. It has a really nice set of fundamentals in terms of making sure that there's really good technology. You can feel like you're doing good by doing good. And there's strong science and IP behind it. There are a lot of good investors in the space. I think we are probably the only ones focused almost exclusively on skin health. And, we like this space for a few reasons. The first is skin is your largest organ. Skin cancer is the most common form of cancer. 1 in 4 Americans will get skin cancer at some point in their lifetime. 1 in 5 have an active skin condition, although most of us have experienced at some point in their lifetime. So the skin health is a very relatable part of healthcare. It's you're not doing the kind of deep dives that you see in oncology or internal medicine. You can also see if the drugs that you're using work, which I think is a very exciting thing for a lot of people. And, it's one of the few areas in medicine where you can actually ethically biopsy. This creates some really cool dynamics. The first is it's just faster to get through the approval process, or it can be, for skin health indications. The studies are cheaper. In many cases, people with active skin conditions can be considered healthy volunteers from the FDA's perspective. So that allows you to do earlier studies on people with the conditions that you're looking to treat. And it allows you to get through those milestones faster and just creates a better environment for us as investors.
Great. Well, it sounds like a great opportunity there. What's the challenges starting a business there?
I think the challenge is the main challenge outside of there's the general stuff of starting any business, right? And, when we talk to potential founders or potential people that we're investing in, we're looking for people who are incredibly committed to what they're doing, have the horsepower, we think, to, take the hill and figure out how to get through the challenges of starting and founding a business, and have the wisdom, I would say, to realize, what they don't know and how they can think about building a team. When we invest in someone, we really look to partner with them. So we're never looking for the complete package when we look at someone. We're looking for someone who's extremely good at what they do, a team that's very accomplished at what they do, where, if necessary, we can come in and help and support. So, I think there's a lot of challenges generally with starting a business. I would say specific to skin health, you've got a really good developed market, but you don't see as much startup and investor focused activity. There's plenty of startup activity. There isn't as much investor focused activity. And so, especially as you start drifting from kind of true medical, when you start looking at aesthetics, and we like to say we invest in healthcare broadly defined, but through the lens of skin. So we'll do anything from diagnostics to true medical to aesthetics. You find yourself, especially as you drift towards the aesthetic world, you find yourself kind of in this in-between area for finding people to support and invest in you. You've got, if you're a topical, like say you're developing a new Botox, like Allergan's product, you've got true medical investors that think it's a consumer product because it's a cash pay product. And you've got the consumer people who don't want to go near it because it has to go through an FDA process. We think that creates wonderful opportunity for us and our investors. We think the cash pay portion of skin health is another wonderful thing that makes this area really exciting, an area worth exploring for entrepreneurs.
How competitive is the space? Is there a lot of competition? Is it concentrated or fragmented? How would you describe it?
I think it depends on which aspects you look at. It is a very developed space. There are several large established competitors. But one of the nice things I think about healthcare investing in general, and this holds true in dermatology and in aesthetic medicine, is there is this constant cycle of companies getting bought, people being on the other end of those transactions, then being able to go out and reestablish themselves and find new assets. And so there's a really natural cycle that, even though it could appear that people are always getting bought, you would associate that with a concentrating industry. But because of the nature of healthcare, you're constantly getting kind of new seeds that are getting planted to become those trees to be acquired.
Great. Well, what advice would you give to someone entering the skin health space? What do you tell them to do before they jump in?
So, the advice I give to any entrepreneur is to, be sure that that's what they want to do. It is a real commitment. You hear about the overnight successes because they are rare, not because they are typical. I know with the company I started, we told ourselves we would give it a year, and I think we finally hit our exit 9 years later. With Gore, I told myself I'd give it a year, and it's been 8 years. It is a long haul. It takes commitment. You need to be focused on what you want to do and have not just a team around you, but also have your family around you and your friends around you that can support you and really drive forward.
What about that business that surprised you or you didn't expect as you got into it? What was unusual about it?
In hindsight, there wasn't a tremendous amount that was unusual. But what happens is, and this happens in every investment we make, it's no plan survives contact with the enemy. I can almost guarantee in every investment I make, and we will talk to founders about this when we put our money in, there's going to be some delay. I don't know what it is. You don't know what it is, or we plan for it, but there's going to be some delay. You're going to have some type of bump in the road, whether it's with the FDA or a supplier or, a co-founder or something that's going to end up costing more money and more time to fix. And you need to realize that is part of the entrepreneurial experience, and to, work through it, plan for it, try and, raise capital when you can so you can preserve capital for when you need it, and do what you can to keep pushing forward.
Great. Well, what online information source do you find most helpful in your work here?
So, we're kind of setting ourselves up to be a really strong source for information for people who are looking at things in skin health. And if anyone is interested in learning more about the space, I'd recommend that they check out our website, gorerangecapital.com, or follow us on LinkedIn. We're doing a lot of work putting out white papers on the space right now, on various subsections of the skin health space, to help people think about, interesting opportunities that could eventually become companies, which, could eventually become investable.
Right. Well, the trends in the industry that are both technical or business coming up that would create new opportunities in the space? And if so, what would that business be?
Yeah, so I think there are a couple of interesting trends that are, more general. On the aesthetic side of the business, we're seeing trends towards longer lasting, natural looks and natural products. That natural product shift, we're seeing that across, really across medicine. So moving from animal derived to organic but chemically produced. that I think is going to create a lot of opportunities as we kind of resource ingredients and look for new things. I'd also say, we are very much technology focused. Anything that can help drive better outcomes for patients, better decision making by physicians, or significant reductions in cost for payouts from payers. We see that those are trends across healthcare, but are also quite important in dermatology.
Great. Well, in the last minutes that we have here, what else should we cover that we haven't?
I think what I like to get across from our perspective is just how exciting a space we think that dermatology and skin health is. Skin is your largest organ. It is the physical manifestation of how people experience you in the world. And, keeping that healthy as we are all living longer and wanting to stay active is really of paramount importance. And so that general trend, we're all living longer, we want to stay active, and we want to be able to, look good and feel good while doing it. That is what's really the crux of driving what is the exciting innovation in our space. And we think it's a great opportunity.
Great. Well, how best for listeners to get back in touch with you?
So, the easiest thing would be, again, refer to our website. There's contact info for me, my partners on there, and feel free to reach out. We'd love to hear from you.
Great. We'll put that in the show notes. I want to thank you for joining us today and hope to have you back for a follow-up soon.
Thank you. Take care.
Investor Connect helps investors interested in startup funding. In this podcast series, experienced investors share their experience and advice. You can learn more at investorconnect.org. Halty Martin is the director of Investor Connect, which is a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to the education of investors for early-stage funding. All opinions expressed by Hall and podcast guests are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinion of Investor Connect. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon as a basis for investment decisions.